There's one thing I know about you, it's that Final Fantasy VII is so near and dear to your heart, and I think that's maybe, that and Frisbee are the two things that brought us together, but forget about Frisbee, man. We just got to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's kind of one of the starring games at the show, and it was kind of a crazy ride for me, but like, I love the game. You love the game. What was your reaction?
There's so much I like about it. There's a couple things I don't, but mostly I had such a good takeaway from this. It does so many things right that like I didn't expect it to take seriously or do differently than the first time around. Like, first of all, the reactor that we saw, the Maka reactor, it's like recreated so well. Down to the enemies you fight, the first guard scorpion, obviously. They've turned it into like kind of a larger set piece, but it still feels great.
I have to agree with you 100%. Like, the way that they've brought the world to life is great, and it's sort of one of those things where when I used to play Final Fantasy VII, I'm sure it's the same for you and everyone else out there, yeah, it was low poly, but like we sort of like imprinted our own interpretation of the details and from our imagination, and this doesn't leave much to the imagination. It's all kind of right there. It's, I hate to use the word, but it's gritty, it's grimy, right? Things are a bit beaten down, but it's also flashy, and like sparks fly everywhere when attacks land a certain way. It's a visual sort of showcase. And it's not surprising it's taken this long to make the game, looking at it now.
I know, like that was the biggest takeaway for me too, was that like going into this, you know, they've only shown footage from the Maka reactor or the Maka reactor so far. So I figured like this game is still probably like 3 years out or something like that, like depending on how much of the first chapter is gonna fill. One thing that really resonated with me was like in the beginning, or in the original obviously, like Barrett, you know, he like walks into Cloud's body, and that's how they transport
the old
together.
video game way of forming a party.
And so like all the little moments where they're like bantering between each other, and Barrett's commentating on like Cloud being a traitor or like working for Shinra, like all that stuff actually happens pretty organically and like is very fitting to the original characters. And like the voice acting is,
it's hit or miss.
I like Cloud. I'm not sure how I'll feel about Barrett. Maybe, you know, I'll give him a chance to grow on me, but
before this demo, I gotta say, like, Barrett's voice was super aggravating to me, and I was just like so ready to write him off. But there were moments, like you're right, like when he was confronting Cloud, when he was like, you gotta place the bomb, right? And Cloud was having some hesitation for one reason or another, and you know, it was just that exchange felt real. It didn't feel like the over-the-top, you know, Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr. voice that we've been hearing. That's in there. It's a little bit goofy, but I think at the end of the day, though, too, it's interesting to see how just like serious this game is taking the world and its characters. Like, they're all being treated like not just sort of like archetypes that are cut and paste in there. I mean, we have only seen a handful of minutes, but you kind of get a sense of who they are and like what defines them. Maybe that's just because we've already played this, you know, the original, and I know all that stuff. But but to that point, like replaying this game now, like it's almost like a dream of Final Fantasy VII. It's like a different version of it that didn't exist before, and it's for that reason alone, I'm super interested to see where it goes. But I also want to talk about combat really quick, because that's sort of like, I think, one of the biggest changes happening to the game. It is a hybrid of, you know, real-time, not really turn-based, because it's not like the enemy is taking turns necessarily, but I thought it worked really well. You know, you didn't have to necessarily tap into those abilities. You don't even have to slow down time, because you can also map them to a single button, which was nice. But you could also take your time, pause, issue a command to Cloud, issue a command to Barrett, or switch to Barrett really quickly. And I don't know about you, but I got that flow down really quick, and that was very encouraging.
Yeah, and it was like I found myself like, you know, specifically digging through each ability to see which it did and like which ones added more stagger damage to the enemy. And then once I did that, I'd switch back to Cloud and do like the Braver attack or something for massive damage. And I was like, this is great. Like, I'm just switching back and forth between these guys really quickly. Like, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when you have 3 players and you have to balance all of that.
Yeah, it should definitely be interesting. I mean, we've only seen a glimpse of the game. We know that the entirety of the first game will take place only in Midgar. Yoshinori Kitase gave us a presentation running through some more details about the game. You know, we do know for certain, like yesterday during the presentation, they said you'll have 2 Blu-rays worth of data. They were able to confirm that, no, it will be 2 Blu-ray discs. I mean, you know, what they said could have been interpreted in different ways. Like, are we talking about a download? Are we talking about a single layer or dual layer Blu-ray? I think if they're doing 2, it must be 2 dual layers, because otherwise they could just, anyway, I'm getting technical with this, but it's going to be a big, massive game. They say it's going to have as much content as a traditional like Final Fantasy sequel, like a new game, which sounds nuts. I don't know, I get the impression that this is going to be more than a few episodes. they were saying that the only reason that we're doing this is because we don't want to cut anything from the game, and that's why the first game is just Midgar, and it's going to be substantial because they're really doubling down on the world and the characters. Jesse in particular, who you could, I don't know about you, but when I played the original game, there was always this hint of like, oh yeah, she's kind of like flirtatious with Cloud, like she's having fun with him. Here you kind of get a bit more of that, and I almost wonder.
Yeah, she asks about like your relationship.
You know,
with
Tifa, are you guys close? Never mind. Let's talk about it later.
Yeah, like if it's any indication, or this demo is any indication, like yes, they're right when they say the first chapter will be a whole game, like a full, maybe 40, 50 hour experience just in Midgar alone.
Yeah.
Because the reactor was super fleshed out.
Yeah, it was really good looking. We've only seen a glimpse, but I'm super excited. Are you?
Yeah,
I
came away excited for it for reasons I didn't even anticipate beforehand. It looks like it's doing justice to the original while also, kind of spreading out to do its own thing as well, and it works. It very much worked for me.
We have no distance from this demo. We just got back playing it. We are admitted Final Fantasy fanboys, so take all of this for what you will. But of course, there are plenty of other video games at E3 besides Final Fantasy VII Remake, so stay tuned to GameSpot for all that news and info.